Hey, everybody, it is Lindsay Baker reporting live here on Rescue Stories. Today, I have an incredible story, Operation Caged Hell. And I have with me here today Animal Rescue Corps founder and PR man, and they're going to tell you all the stuff they do. They do amazing work. This is Tim Woodward, Michael Cunningham, and our surprise guest is, oh, there she is. Always a surprise, Patty Shenker. Hi, guys. How are you? We are so excited to have you on tonight.
Thank you for having us.
Listen, I want to jump right in and read this press release that you gave to me, Michael, right? Michael, you gave me this, the Operation Cage Hell press release. Animal Rescue Corps, a nonprofit animal protection organization, assisted the Henry County Sheriff's Department on Thursday with the removal of 622 animals living in horrendous conditions on a property in Buchanan, Tennessee. And this is on the news. This is all over the news. But the biggest part of it, there was a toddler also found in a cage. In the room where the child was found were also large snakes, some of which were 10 feet long, as well as mice and rats and other small animals. Oh my gosh. The Sheriff's Department called it Operation Cage Hell. Michael, tell us what you can tell us about this. Tell us, just fill us in. Go ahead. I'm still in shock.
It was shocking to us as well. We had been working with the Sheriff's Department earlier that week on a separate case. So we had already had a standing relationship with them. And they had gotten a complaint about the way that people were housing the chickens in the front yard. There were these makeshift pens filled with chickens. The pens were made out of scrap metal, bits of fencing, and everything kind of ramshackled, wired together. And someone had called in a complaint. And when he walked up to the front door to talk to the people about this, he could see the kid in the cage from the front door. And around the cage that the child was in were large glass tanks containing 8 boa constrictors and pythons, some of which were
oh my gosh
around. So they were eating rabbit. They were feeding these snakes rabbits. They were so big.
Oh my gosh! Let's watch a clip. Let's watch the channel news clip, and then we'll have.
8-year-old locked in a cage next to snakes and live mice. That was the horrifying scene in Henry County, where officials found that scene yesterday morning, I should say. And today, 3 people are in jail. News Channel 5's Kelsey Gibbs tells us the sheriff says this was a heartbreaking sight.
Single wide trailer. In the living room, you got a kid caged. You got 8 snakes, and you've got the snake's feed butted up against the child's cage.
A 1.5-year-old boy locked in a dog kennel. Pizza boxes stacked on top of it, and next to the cage, officials found buckets of live mice.
About 3 foot to the left of it was a 10-foot boa constrictor inside the same room. There were also 7 other snakes, which 2 of them were right above the child's head.
It was something Henry County Sheriff Monte Blue says he never witnessed in his career.
Absolutely, it's heartbreaking. Terrible.
Blue says from the yard.
Wow. This, Patty, when you see that, what's your reaction? What's your reaction to this?
Well, I've seen the horrors from volunteering with Animal Rescue Corps. Of course, that is a shock to see a toddler in a cage as well. I was just blown away by, and you're not showing this, but the sheriff was extremely complimentary and grateful to Animal Rescue Corps for all the help that they gave. And he kept talking about them, which was really wonderful, because to get 670 animals out is a difficult undertaking.
It does sound like a difficult undertaking. Tim, tell us a little bit about how that all came down.
Well, as Michael was saying, we had worked with them 2 days before on a separate case of cruelty, alleged cruelty to primarily dogs, 45 dogs and one cat in that case. And they had mentioned that they were going to be investigating a case of alleged cruelty to chickens. And we had referred them to one of our farmed animal partners that we work with. So we really didn't expect to hear anything back from them. And then that morning, I got an urgent call from the sheriff. And he said, we went out to look at this chicken case, and it's much bigger and many more animals than anything we've ever seen or expected. And how quickly can you get here? So we, within a matter of about an hour, pulled together a team urgently and pulled together the equipment we would need. And we managed to get out there in about 3.5 hours, and it's about 2.5 hours away. So
Wow.
we rushed to the scene and got to work right away.
That's incredible. I think there's some movement. It sounds like animal sounds. Do you guys hear that? Like the natives are restless in the background. So I'm not sure, but if you could try not to move anything on the surface, I think that's causing it. But Michael, what an undertaking. Tell us a little bit of how you got that together and I believe my ears heard about an hour's time. Is that right?
Yeah.
And then to drive because you had to get there. Yeah.
Yeah. And, you're driving out. It is so rural. We literally came to the end of the highway. It just dead ended. And I looked at my ETA and we're still an hour away. So it's over an hour just on country back roads. But what's amazing is that I had a shelter of volunteers here caring for the animals that we had brought in on Tuesday, 2 days before. And we just said, hey, we got to go. And they stayed here all night waiting for us. And we're calling in what it is we're finding. So we're saying, hey, we've got, so many large dogs. We've got, 500 rats and mice. And so we're calling it in, and they are literally setting up the shelter, putting up the cages, getting water bowls, getting pee pads down, getting the food ready, and waiting for the animals to come in. And then on scene, as we go and document the entire scene and we map out the entire scene, and that's really important because as we start extracting the animals, we want to know exactly on the property where that animal came from, because once they come back to our shelter, our emergency shelter, if I've got a dog that is behaviorally declining, if they're shutting down, I can go and find the other dogs that were with them on the property. Some of these dogs were in the trailer. Some of these dogs are in pens outside. Some of these dogs are running loose on the property. Some of these dogs are in the rat house, which we'll talk about.
Yeah.
That was totally insane. So that way, when they come in, everybody's got not only a number, so we know which number it was as they came off the property, but we know exactly where on their property they were. For instance, I have dogs that are in cages that were caged together, and these were cages that were built over the dogs. There's no door, okay? You can't get into these cages.
How did they get food and water?
They would just pour it in through the top, through the cage bars. Rain, it wasn't. I mean, if you look at some of our video and our pictures, you'll see where we are literally cutting our way into those cages.
Let me show some. So I think we get the idea from that. Do you want to comment on that before we go and look at some? I put together the Facebook pictures of the condition of the dogs. We'll do that next. But do you guys want to comment on that? What we just saw? Whoever wants to go first, Tim, go ahead.
I'd like, well, just in terms of how rural it was, when the sheriff called me, he said, and we've got some rats and mice here. And we've been on plenty of cases where there would be a tank of rats or a tank of mice with, you know, a dozen or some mice or rats in it. We had no idea how many we were going to encounter. And once we were there and realized that we were dealing with hundreds, we needed equipment to put them in. And so this place was so rural, it was a 45-minute drive to the nearest Walmart was the only resource. And we literally bought every plastic container that they had available for us to be able to move these and transport these rats and mice and hamsters back to our facility. And since then, we've been buying every kind of aquarium, small animal cage that we could possibly get to further break them down into their social groups and make them as safe and comfortable and the least stressed as possible. And I'd say that every animal on this property, including the people, were suffering tremendously. But the small animals, to me, were just heartbreaking because if you've ever had rats or mice, they're actually very clean creatures.
I have.
And these animals were living in containers where the feces had built up over years to where their bodies were literally pressed against the lid of the container by their own feces. I've never seen anything so horrible. And when we got them, and I'm so glad they called us because our team was determined not to leave that property until the last and smallest mouse was in our cave. And if you could have seen them, I wish we had videoed it when they got back here and they got into the containers with the fresh fluff. And they were literally jumping and diving into the fluff for joy.
Oh.
You know, because that's what they do. And to have lived on top of their own feces like that was horrific.
Oh my gosh. Let's watch another clip here. Now, I want to warn everyone, this is graphic. This is horrific. I'm not going to play the whole entire 3 minutes, but I'm going to play some of this so you can get a feel. If you don't want to see it, just look away. Don't go off. By the way, be sharing this video. Close your eyes. Share this video, everyone. Please, we need help and donations. What is it? 622 animals have been rescued. Mice and rats. What happens to them if the police, let's say, let's not name anyone, let's not accuse anyone, but if they had been left there, they would have just been left to die? Is that what might happen in certain instances like this?
I'd like to think not, but honestly, I don't know of another group that would have tried to help the rats and mice the way we did. And that number of animals goes up every day. So we've had 17 puppies born in our care since.
Oh my gosh.
And we have about between a dozen and 20 rats and mice born every day.
Oh, wow. Well, that's
every day.
Now,
oh my God. That's right. It might go on forever. You never know.
Well, it won't go on forever because they've been completely sexed and separated.
Right.
But we do at this point have a nursery of expectant rats and mice who are giving birth.
You must do a Zoom. I don't know if you guys have heard of this, but a lot of sanctuaries are doing this. They're actually doing Zoom parties where people can come and see like the mice jumping and all. And they got out of, not that I'm saying, you guys need to help with this. And this is a tremendous way to get the help. So you might want to think about it and give you more information. But let's watch the clip here of, again, people, warning, this is not going to be pretty. Wow. I'd like you guys to talk a little bit more. And Patty, jump in whenever. Is there anything you want to comment? Let's let Patty talk for a moment. And then I want to ask you about logistics, more about how you get them out, because you touched on it, but I think that's really interesting. Go ahead, Patty.
Well, I want to hear more about the whole rescue, but I'm wondering what happened to the toddler. Is he in child care services or what? And I also want to point out that often where there is animal abuse, there will be child abuse. And this is a perfect example of it. And I want to just say that watch out. You know, if somebody hadn't called in about this, about the chickens, bless that person for calling in about the chickens. I mean, thank you. They would still, this kid would still be in that cage, and those poor animals would be in those horrible cages with all that crap.
Right.
So it's really important to keep your eyes open and watch, especially in rural areas where you can get away with this much easier. And report it, because you never know what you're going to discover. And look at what this person did by doing that. And again, bless that person.
Yeah. Now the child, from what the police report, the sheriff's report said, was that the child was unharmed but appeared to be hungry. That's what I read. But he was not harmed, and he was taken by protective services. Is that correct?
That's correct. Unfortunately, many people have reached out to us and expressed really heartfelt concern for our team having to witness it. But I'm happy to say that Child Protective Services responded so quickly that the child had been removed from the property by the time we got there. I'm grateful for multiple reasons. One, that our team didn't have to witness that. And two, that they got the child out as quickly as possible. And I know they're being very guarded about sharing any information, but anecdotally, I've heard that the child is doing okay.
We pray that he is. We pray that he is. So, we're trying to keep away from talking too much about that, because the case is ongoing and so forth. So we just want to focus on you guys and the amazing work that you've done. But it's true, Patty. That was such a good point. Where there's animal abuse, abuse follows, elder abuse, whatever, it's the same thing. Lack of love, right? Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say that Patty's absolutely right, that in having to talk to people responsible for these things multiple times through different cases, there is a lack of empathy, a complete lack of empathy. They can walk by these things, these horrible scenes every day and not feel any empathy towards the animal, or in this case, perhaps the child that is in their care.
You have to feel sympathy for people. They must be, I don't want to speculate. I'm not a doctor, but yeah, it's very sad. Let's look at another clip now. Things are getting a little more positive. This is some of the rescues. I think people will enjoy. That little one at the end really got me. I just love that. In fact, it accidentally became my screensaver, and this can make me sound bad, but I was crying so much. First I said, I'm going to leave it. It'll be a good sign for me. It'll keep me, working for animals. After 5 minutes, I was like, I can't do it. I took it down for that dog. Oh my God.
It's amazing to me. When we're on scene, you're working on adrenaline. And we are very focused on the task at hand. And our brain blocks out a lot of what is happening around us because we're just very diligent and very thorough in what we do. And it's when I go back and I look at these pictures that I get emotional, because every one of those dogs has a name now. And they're in our care. And I know every single one of them. I know all their little quirks and all their little personalities. And that's when I start unpacking all of that emotional baggage that our brain has blocked out. Just to know how sweet these animals are and how much love they crave and all of that. And then just to see how they were treated. When we're on scene, it's work. It's do your job, do it thoroughly, because there aren't other nonprofit organizations that law enforcement hands over all the evidence collection to, and all of that too. We're the specialists when it comes to large-scale animal cruelty cases. They don't know what to do. They don't have the resources to do it. It's not like they don't know they have these problems. And it's not like there's not laws on the books to help with these problems, but when they don't have any resources to address it, what are they going to do? You know, they can't do anything. So that's what we are. We are that resource that comes in and does it all for them. And we want to make it airtight. We want to hand them a slam dunk prosecution. And that comes through focus, diligence, documentation, crossing every T and dotting every I. And we can't let our emotions take over when we're on scene. We have to be focused, but it's later. It's later when we look at these pictures and I watch the video that I begin to get emotional, because they're amazing animals. Down to the mice. The mice are so cute. And, you know, I'll just pick them up and they'll just sit in my hand. They weren't ever shown any kind of kindness, ever. And yet you show them a little bit of kindness and they crave it. And it's such a beautiful thing.
You got everybody crying.
Yeah, you did, Michael. And I just want to say that is so true. You know, I am an extremely emotional person. I cry at commercials all the time, and I cry a lot, which is the only reason that I'm still sort of sane. But I have to admit, from the rescues that I've done with Animal Rescue Corps, that's exactly it. You get into this work saving life mode, and you don't have the time to break down and get upset about it. You have to work, and afterwards, then you're stuck with the visuals and just the horror of it all. But luckily that we have these animals that we've saved, which is the joy of it all. It's what makes it all worthwhile. There's nothing better than rescuing, in my opinion. And they do it so well.
Yeah. Let's play the team. And I just want to show that people can make a donation here. I'm going to show this a couple of times. This is the Facebook page if you want to help out, and the guys will explain what the money will go to. I believe there's even an Amazon account where you can click a link from their website if you go to Animal Rescue Corps with an S at the end. It's corps.org. Donate. and you will see you can do a one-time donation, you can do a monthly, and you can also go on Amazon and pick out supplies that are needed. One thing I saw were sweaters for tiny dogs. That was adorable. And also, if you want a quick route to it right now, while you're on Facebook, you can go to @Animal Rescue Corps on Facebook and just hit the donate. Smash that donate button.
Thank you for
And
sharing.
share this out, please, everyone. Please, if you're watching and you're crying and you're emotional and you care, please share the video, have watch parties, tell your friends to donate. Every little bit helps a lot. And this is a lot of animals that were saved, and animals that probably wouldn't be saved if they were left to other resources, not because people don't want to, but they just don't have the resources. Michael or Tim, whoever feels like they want to answer this question, do you think that eventually not the responsibility, but the operation of saving animals will go to private sectors like nonprofits like yourself and allow the shelters just to orchestrate? Because I've heard that from the city councils and so forth, that they should move to more privatized. Can you comment on that? To moving it more into the shelters, away from the shelters because they don't have capacity, and you guys can work in your areas and so forth. You're much more effective. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No problem. It's a great question. And Animal Rescue Corps was designed and founded specifically to complement law enforcement for these type of cases. I think there is a move where lots of smaller shelters and rescues are trying to step in and help. And I think that is a testament to how great the need is and how short the resources are. Yeah. I'll be honest and say that it does concern me when groups that aren't specifically trained and experienced to do the type of evidence intake and documentation that we do, because, as important as ending the suffering is making sure that it never happens again. And that's where, collecting the evidence, documenting everything, and contributing to successful prosecutions come in. Because more than anything, we always want to get it established that these individuals should never own animals again. So what you see in that video is you see us bring a team on scene that is incredibly experienced, incredibly detailed and dedicated. There were 2 vets, several vet techs, and then an evidence collection team that has been trained to take evidentiary photographs, making sure that each animal, from multiple angles, they zero in and they take special photographs of any visible conditions like open wounds or severe dental disease or overgrown nails. They're trained to look for these things and document them. We never go on scene without a documentary team that documents everything before we even touch it, so that there is no doubt that in the way in which we found the animals. So I couldn't be more proud of the experienced and dedicated team that you saw in those videos. And if I can make one other point just for perfect clarity, not in the last montage, but in the montage before that, there were 1 or 2 photographs that were just me and Michael with animals from previous rescues. And I never want to be accused of showing images that weren't from this specific rescue. Not that there was any shortage of suffering, but there were a couple of images that were not from this operation.
Well, I appreciate you letting me know that. I guess I picked it up from Facebook, maybe. Yeah.
Or we might have sent it to you in error, so I'll own it. But it was only 1 or 2 images out of the montage.
But just to stay on that question a moment more, then it's obvious that you would need the resources that you have. But if you were maybe at some point, do you see it happening where you're sort of like the model and you train out and build a whole network of these across the country? I see that growing. Wouldn't that be fabulous? Everybody, let's weigh in on that. Patty, you want to start? Go ahead,
let's
Patty.
do that. Let's have a National Animal Rescue Corps. Let them train people in every state, because this happens in every single state.
Yes.
And it needs to stop. All this abuse needs to stop. So I think that would be excellent. But let's hear from Michael. What do you think?
It would be great. you know, it would be great if we did not have to do this.
Yeah.
People ask us all the time, why Tennessee? Why the South? It's because they need it, because they don't have any resources. But this happens all over the place. It's in every single state, you know. It's our law enforcement. There's already animal cruelty laws on the books, but if they have no resources, it becomes unenforceable. What's the point?
Mhm.
And so when we start working with, and this happens a lot, we will start working with a law enforcement agency that we've never worked with before, and we'll say, you know, what else? What else is in your community? Because they've been getting complaints about these places for years. They know where the problems are in their community. It's not like this is just all of a sudden happened. They've just never had any resources to address it. And so just like with this case, we had been there on Tuesday, pulled 45 dogs out of a trailer, which we have here in our shelter. We have over 700 animals in our shelter currently.
Oh my God.
Yeah. But we're like, okay, what else? You know, we'll clean up the whole county because why not? We're there, use us. And this could happen in every single county around the United States. It's you know, the point is that they don't have the resources to do it. And they're never going to get the tax funding to spend on animals like this. But it comes through donations. It comes from the people saying, okay, I will donate toward this that allow us to do this. We've been doing this for 10 years, and we're only able to do it at the kindness of other people. Everything in our shelter, everything behind me, everything here has been given at the kindness of others, not as a tax. It's because people see the work we're doing and they give. And if you give, then we can do.
Right. So we want everybody
But
to
if they don't give, we can't do.
Right.
And when you do give, you are part of the rescue.
Absolutely. I always say that.
So remember that.
You can be a
can't
part.
be there helping. You can help by giving.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter if it's $1, $10, $100, $500, $5,000, or you're shopping from our wish list and you're sending me Benebones, or you're sending me a sweater for a small dog or whatever. I need it. They need it.
Yeah.
And if, you know, not everybody just wants to send money. Some people want to, I call it knick-knack, paddywhack, buy a dog a bone. Okay, go to our wish list, buy something. And it may be something
$20, you don't feel like it's like you're doing a lot, you know, but if you buy a coat for a dog, then you know, and you can look at one little dog and go, yeah, that one of the dogs like that looks like that beautiful, precious little innocent face, vulnerable face is going to have this warm coat that I bought him. And I think that really, you know, makes someone with a smaller donation. Every donation is a big donation because it
So
will
all you knitters out there,
help.
all you knitters out there, we need small dog.
Yeah, all you little dog lovers, tiny little.
It doesn't always matter the amount that they give. It could be something unglamorous as I need wormer. Okay, deworming these dogs is a very expensive thing to do, and it's not a sweater, it's not a fluffy toy. But let me tell you, it does a huge amount of good to these dogs to get rid of their parasites.
Absolutely.
I've also had people pull up to the shelter and bring in $20 and ask if I can make change. And it's because I know that they're giving the absolute most that they can. They can't give me the whole 20, but can I make some change out of it? You bet. And that fills my heart.
Right.
Because they took the time to come all the way down and give what they could. And it doesn't matter if it's $5,000 out of someone's bank account who can afford it, or if it's $5 out of someone's wallet because they only got $20. So
You
So
can
could I
bring
ask
our camera if you want. We love seeing animals.
Yeah.
So I'd
You
like to
have-
sorry, go ahead, Patty.
Yes.
I was just going to ask, do you have to keep these animals right now for evidence?
Fortunately, on both of these cases, we've received a surrender, but we are keeping them until all the evidence is collected, and then working with the district attorney to make sure that they don't require anything further. So we'll have them for a while longer. And that's kind of what I wanted to touch on, because we were talking about, fluffy sweaters and Bones, and these are things like we have to prioritize our resources. So rescue is up there, medical's up there, daily care is all up there. But from the time that they're in our care, we want to begin giving them enrichment. We want to begin to give them the life that they've always deserved. We want to begin to rehabilitate them. So people giving through our Amazon wish list, you give us the nice beds, the great bones, the wonderful toys and sweaters and stuff that we could never afford to go to the store and buy for every animal.
Right.
But you're giving it that way enables us to give them a great life to begin, right from the minute we get them. We start conditioning them. Sometimes we put furniture, real furniture into different areas so that they can become accustomed to couches and stairs and anything that will further set them up for the best life possible, make them as adoptable as possible so that they're in a home that much faster. And if I can make one more point, we were talking about sheriff's departments not having the resources, and it's true. Probably the majority of cases we do take place in a county where there is not even an animal control officer, much less a shelter. So in Henry County, where we were just working, that sheriff takes it very seriously, and he's very good about it. And because that county doesn't have any resources, he actually created a small animal shelter in the sheriff's department and allows inmates to volunteer and care for the animals.
Amazing.
So that it's all totally to his credit. And that way, when they have a case with 5 or 10 dogs or one dog, he has a place to take them and make sure they get cared for. But as he acknowledged in his press conference, even the smaller of these two cases would have more than overwhelmed his small shelter. So he, even with all that he's done to try to make resources for animals, he didn't begin to have the resources to handle these two cases.
Wow. So, but I guess in certain states there isn't an allocation of funding, because I know in LA there is funding. So if they were to work with an organization like you, it would seem that they would, I don't know how this works, but it would seem like they would be able to allocate it to you guys to use it more effectively to expedite.
And a lot of it comes down to a county by county basis, and you have county councils or who are trying to take very limited resources, and often there aren't enough resources even for the needs of the people. And as we know, animals always come second. So they're they do what they can. But you're right. If we can't do this forever, so if we could somehow model this so that other places and places with greater resources can begin to create a similar model and support our law enforcement partners, because when they have a resource, they will use it.
Yeah.
We don't charge for our services at all.
Wow.
We offer our services for free.
So we no adoption fees, because we never want to be accused of a conflict of interest. So all the animals that we seize, we care for, we provide all their immediate medical needs, and we care for them as long as possible, care for them as long as necessary. And then we pass them on to our shelter and rescue partners, who ultimately collect adoption, rightfully collect adoption fees. We did a case in 2018 that the legal battle for custody lasted over 14 months. And before it was over, we had invested $500,000 in care and over $100,000 in legal expenses with no form of restitution or repayment coming to us in any way.
That's amazing. I don't know. That leaves me speechless. Wow. So you have
So thank you to our donors is what that
right. I was going to say, you obviously have some strong supporters, and thank heaven for those. And let's grow that base. Now we've got to get people to know you about what you're doing, more help, or at least I'm sure you're doing a fine job of that, but it's always good to have a little more help and support, and everyone can spread the word. They can make a donation, even a little donation. If your heart's touched, make a little donation. That would be great. And maybe you guys can either come back on here, but I'm telling you, you have a hit show there with getting some of those aquariums where you have the mice and letting people see. I'd be so happy to watch those mice, because I don't want to name the stores, but so-called pet stores that love animals keep them and sell them to people that some of them use them for snakes. And you can go and watch them, but it breaks my heart. You could, like you were saying, how when they play and everything, it's so incredible. But I think people would do a Zoom, 20-minute Zoom with you on that, and give us, a nice little donation there. So just my thought.
You just made a critical point. So if you're interested in having mice, if you're interested in having rats or a gecko or a sugar glider, first check with your local organizations, because at different times your local shelters will get these other small companion animals. And if your local shelter doesn't have it, there are rescue agencies for every small companion animal you can think of that you can contact and adopt. Always adopt, always adopt.
Yes, great point. We always say adopt, don't shop, adopt. And
I would imagine that you will be looking for homes for many, many, many of these animals.
We're fortunately the dogs and cats will be rapidly accepted by our placement partners, and we've never had this many rodents at one time before. So we are currently networking. Luckily, we have a vet friend who is a bit of a rat aficionado, and we really trust her opinion. So she is networking us with a variety of groups all the way from Michigan to Louisiana who have the experience to care for and place large numbers of small animals, rats and mice and hamsters. So fingers crossed, we'll be able to get them all into the hands of people who will quickly get them into homes where they'll be cared for the way they should have been.
Wow, do you guys hear that popping sound?
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. Gee, we have 15 more minutes. I don't want to go off. Do you guys have headphones you can grab quick? I'm going to put mine in and see. See if you can plug in. That might stop it. That is so annoying.
That helped.
Yeah. Hello?
Oh, that helped, but now it's back again.
Is anyone moving? No? Nobody's moving? No. Let's try to carry on. Otherwise, we'll have to go off. I'd hate to go off so soon.
Sounds like typing.
Yeah, it sounds like typing.
Is anyone typing? Let's read some of the. No, I know you guys aren't. I'm saying so. I'm making a silly joke. Let's see. Whoa. Oh, my God. That's bad. Thank God for all that you do. Thank you for saving the animals. You rock. Well, you guys know how you can say thank you. Share, 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 if you can. I want to adopt. So Jackie Everett Hawkins wants to adopt. How would she go about that?
As these animals are cleared for placement, what we will do is move them to shelters and rescues who are very experienced and very qualified to interview potential adopters and match the animals up with the best environment for them. And so as they're cleared to move out, we'll announce on our Facebook page the shelters and rescues that they'll be going to.
Did it stop? Hello? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
You can hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, we're good, right? So I don't know what we should do about this. Do you want to all go off and come back on for 15 minutes? Yes? Okay, let's do that. Everyone just go off and just come right back on with the same link.